other than a pandemic, then the session would be in the offline mode. So, but thanks to this technology, today, hope everyone are connected in online from your home. Yes, and I am also connected from my home to reach you for the knowledge sharing session. Yeah, thanks. And let me share the screen to begin the session. Okay, so today I'm sharing one of the interesting topic in power electronics. People would have been more used in some simulations, right? The simulations tools, there are a lot of organization or company, I would say, they are focusing on developing simulation models for uh, enhancing the power electronic works in the field, in terms of you take any controls, any machines, any fundamental of analog or digital electronics, people tend to use the simulation model for their the next level of research and development work, right? So today I'm going to share the topic in that relevant area. And please free if there is any doubts during the session, if you want any clarification, always put your hands up so that I can able to give the clarification to the best of my I can do it, right? So let me share the session. So I already Satish introduced me. So I really enjoyed during my college days. That is the only time where we can at most enjoy our students' life, and also eventually we can also take some responsibility in learning new things. If you come out of college, then probably you may work for some industry. Then there is a chance. I would not never say there is no learning curve, but the learning curve will be under your control. So if you see the interest, then only you can learn. Otherwise, during the college days, 100% of the time you will be learning. So you can also consider this next 45 minutes the session, which you can enlighten your knowledge on the power electronics background. So today I'm going to share the topic on simulation model for prediction of optimum fuel economy. So the heading may be somewhat odd for any new people, but I will give you the background why we are touching upon the simulation model. Okay. So today, if even in your students' life, most of them have heard of some power electronic simulator like a MATLAB power electronic simulator. Such a lot of simulation tools are available in online, offline, everywhere. You may go through this word simulation. Okay. So why the simulation? So today there are a lot of companies are making a good amount of revenue in the simulation model. So you may also have some dream companies to join like MathWorks and even MathCAD, even some of the Cadence. Those are all highly paid company for developing the simulation model. They are coming as a package to help some of the people's in a more comfortable. Even in industry, without simulation, we cannot do any product development. So that is where the simulation is more powerful for not only for power electronic stream, for everyone, mechanical, all the field you can take simulation is more powerful. Okay, right. Then the fuel economy. Why we are more worried about the fuel economy? Okay, today in the nutshell, people are we have been seen in the road on road. There are some electric vehicle are coming into the market. Okay, and might be why electric vehicle trend, all of because of the green energy, right? So these are all coming as a trend, and today government is also giving lot of subsidy for the EV development phase. Okay, they are giving lot of tax free, and lot of things are going on the fuel economy. Okay, so here what I touched upon, this is one of my research topic. So I can also give you enlighten what is about, right? So this simulation model is used to predict the optimum fuel economy for the conventional vehicle. Okay, so that is what the topic we are going to discuss. Hope I'm clear with the topic. Yeah. So today our content would be, I'll just discuss broadly on a background or the market trend and some introduction, and the regenerative braking scheme, which is a powerful in savings energy in terms of fuel energy in the vehicles, and electric vehicles are more prone to save some energy during the regenerative braking. And there is a simulation models, results, comparison, and the conclusions, right? Okay, this is the background. Okay, this is the topic which it is already published in IEEE conferences during my research work during 2015 in IIT Madras. Okay, so during that time, 2000, I started my research on 2009. During that time, we see a trend. There may be some electric vehicles coming to the market at 2025. That is the trend we have in the market trend. Okay, and during 2009 there is always looking for a fuel economy improvement. So during that time, all the hybrid vehicles, plug-in hybrids, all sorts of research work were being in the automotive business. Okay, so quite you would have also seen some of the vehicles with the hybrid vehicles from the Maruti or Hyundai. Some of the OEMs have been launched some of the hybrid vehicles. Now the trend is to going on the electric vehicles, even in starts in the two-wheeler also, right? Okay. So in this stage, whenever we want to predict the fuel economy, okay, I will develop this system. No, I will develop this model to my vehicle. But what is the fuel economy I would get out of this development or the research work? Okay, so that is the one question I would bring you into your mind. Whatever you do, you all finally you want to understand what is the fuel economy you would achieve, right? The first one. This cannot be estimated without vehicle trial test. Okay. When you do the road trial test, then only you may estimate what is the fuel saving you got it from your development work. Okay. Next, you need of some simulation tool to predict what would be the fuel economy. Okay, these are all the two things or the two ways I would say. Based on that, you can predict or you can say this much of the fuel economy I received. I can able to get it through my research topic. Okay. Okay. So during that time, if you have any simulation model, then it will be very higher on the cost side. Okay. If the company, unless you prove any technology, unless you prove your development, they will not ready to invest on some simulation tools. I'm talking about the simulation tools in terms of more than 20 lakhs kind of a thing. So for the small level of development work you are doing, company will not invest that much of amount unless you prove something to the company, right? And even this would be same for the university also. Why I'm saying is, you are in the students side, you may also think of lot of ideas how to predict the fuel economy on the vehicle environment. Then you need to have a high cost simulation software to predict that one. So which your university also will not support initially unless you prove some concept, right? So in this thing, what I developed is I made some user defined simulation tools. User defined in the sense we can able to develop the simulation tools, okay, to understand the potential of fuel economy savings. Okay, so I have developed two methods. One is EMAS. I will in the later slide you will get the abbreviation what is EMAS and the RMAS. So with that, what would be the fuel saving benefit? Okay, with the EMAS, it is 1.4% of fuel efficiency. With RMAS, 2.8. Okay, what is EMAS RMAS? We are going to see in the next consecutive slides. And this is considered in the NEDC drive cycles. Okay. NEDC in the new European drive cycles. So everything will be get clarified in the coming slides. Yeah. Okay, what are all the simulator is available? So today you see a lot of simulation tools are commercially available, and you can also just check what is the simulator, how it is modeled. So there are so many of names. So the standard is some dynamic simulator using backward and forward approach, lumped parameter model. So these are the two types wherein which lot of simulator companies would develop the simulator model. Okay, I'll give you some example. Okay, today you are very known about the circuit networks. Okay, today you can model the resistor, DC power supply. You can make some measurement tool in the MATLAB simulator, and you can able to visualize what is the voltage you applied and what is the current, what is the power dissipation. No, all those things you can measure with the MATLAB simulator tool. I'm just giving as an example, but if you know the fundamental relationship between the voltage, current, and the power relationship, okay, you can also simply develop this simulator tool in the Excel, right? In the Excel tool, okay. Hope you agree, right? So if you know the mathematical relationship or the electrical relationship between your model, you can also build your own simulator model. So that is the eye-opening for me. So that we can also build a simulator model unless we know all the fundamentals about all the electrical relationship between all the parameters. So that is where I'm just to touch upon how to do our own user-defined simulation model. And I'm not going to say my developed simulator model is competitive to the commercial software. It is not so that in that way. Okay, I'm just giving a reasonable prediction or the reasonable ideas where we can get avoid if your university doesn't have some simulator model. That is how I'm limiting to that statement. I'm not giving a competency to the commercial simulator models. Right? Okay. What is the market trend? No? So, beginning with 2017 to you see 2030, right? To the year today, we see lot of no petroleum or gasoline based vehicles would be enormous in the market, and we say 2025 is the stage where we can see the drop in the conventional IC engine, right? So now during 2021 also we have started seeing some of the electric vehicles is coming to the market. So this is the market trend. So we can also see, so in 2017 91% on the conventional IC engine. So where conventional IC engine is nothing but where we fueled by petrol or the diesel. That is the conventional IC engine. So 91%, it is going to deteriorate to 67% in 2025. But there is no like no zero reduction, but still we need to be with this conventional IC engine, not so bad. So it is slowly we will be taking from a mild hybrid, then electric vehicles to the range 25% in the market, then 5% on the LSEV, which means a light electric vehicles, light mobility, right? So that is the market trend. And this is the architecture. So far, if any doubts, please rise. We can go with this, dig into deep into the architecture level, right? Okay. If any doubt, please interrupt me. So far, if you are not understand any terminology or anything, so you can please. Okay. So now we are at the architecture. Okay, if you go to any automotive, there is a architecture, powertrain architecture will be there. What is the powertrain architecture? Means we should know how the power is delivered to the wheel, or from the engine to the wheel, or from the motor to the wheel, something like that. You can also like just imagine our power network. Okay, so how the generation station, from that it is going to the distribution station, from the distribution station it comes, the power is come to the our substation, then it is coming to our home. So that is the power architecture for the power distributions. The same level, if any automotive, there is also a power distribution, how it is generated. For example, from the engine, the fuel is converting into the mechanical energy, right? The mechanical energy, and again, it is transferring to some, the C1, C2, C0, C1 are considered as some clutch or decoupler. Then it is going to the gearbox, the gearbox, why it is important, and it is going to the rear wheel. So from there it is a power distribution, it is distributing to the wheels. So this is how the power is developed from the fuel energy converting into the mechanical energy. Mechanical energy, I am saying, in the torque into speed, right? If it is electrical energy, you would say like voltage or current, the terms. Okay. I hope it is clear, the architecture. But if you see like engine, we call it as some terminology, some P0, P1, P2, P3, P4. Okay, so it is nothing to worry about. P0 is no, it is from BSG. BSG is nothing but a breast starter generator. P1 is the crankshaft. Okay, it is all the mechanical element names. Don't get worry if you are not familiar, but in the automotive industry, you'll get learnt about all these powertrain numbers. Okay, P2 is drive on gearbox, P3 is gearbox output shaft, and the P4 is drive at rear axle, right? So why I am highlighting this one? If you know this, then only you know where the power you can able to utilize and where you want to give power in terms of electrical, in terms of mechanical, where you can able to understand what are all the system where you can able to extract the power, or you can give power. Right? Yes. Next. Okay. So from now onwards, we are going to introduce like today we are having a growing concern over environmental pollution, right? And oil dependency. So today, all the petrol prices are reaching to 100, right? So all governments are wondering where we can fight on the oil prices. Okay, it's going up. So it's not our interest, but I'm just seeing oil dependency on oil prices very huge. And automotive sector is continuously investigating on alternative fuels and modified powertrains, right? These are all things are happening. And hybrid electric vehicles is offers fuel economy, right? Why? Mostly on employing the regenerative braking system. Okay. What is regenerative? We can able to understand the coming slides. And hybrid energy storage. So there are a lot of research is happening on energy storage system. Today, when the automotive industry started using some batteries from the chemical conversion, you might be heard of some lead acid batteries, now so-called lithium ion battery, and there are some lot of battery technologies are also available. And now recently there are some trend on using some ultra capacitor that is more or like equivalent as an alternate energy storage device. Right? And the same approach can be followed for a conventional vehicle to improve the fuel economy. Okay, so all this will be going to see through the coming slides. Okay. So what is regenerative braking? So braking, you might be knowing, everyone used to drive two-wheelers or four-wheelers. You may apply the brake for vehicle speed to bring down to lower the vehicle speed, or you need to stop the vehicle immediately. That is where you used to have the brake. Okay. The regenerative braking is nothing but during the braking operation, how well we can save the fuel energy into the electrical energy, and it can be useful for the next period. Okay, that is where the concept of regenerative braking comes into picture, and it is more prone in electric vehicle. It is very well captured. Okay, students, you might be wondered in the Formula One race, a lot of variables they will be monitored on the F1 drive. How much of fuel have been used to complete that track. Okay, So wherein which lot of technologies are available in terms of saving the fuel energy. Okay, so that is one of the good in taking that into fuel improvement only because of the regenerative braking. Okay, in the track, a lot of curves where a driver used to brake and reduce the speed to a optimal level, and then he has to immediately improve the speed. So that is where the regenerative braking is widely used in the F1 race, right? So in the mechanical terms, how the energy is transferring to the electrical energy. So the wheel, I have seen, I have shown like a mechanical connection and the electrical connection. Today, the wheel is connected to the transmission. We saw in the power architecture, and it is connected to the engine, and the engine as well, we have the alternator. Till that, we have the mechanical connection. And from the alternator, very well known, it is converting the mechanical energy into the electrical energy. So the alternator today is used in a common vehicle also to charge the battery. So alternator is run with the engine, and it is charging the battery, and the battery, from that it is going to the electrical loads. The electrical load is nothing but we have a headlight, wiper motor, air conditioning system, music system inside the car. Those are all the electrical loads, right? So any doubt? And I'm going to touch upon the batteries versus supercapacitor. Okay, just I'm not going to so deep on the chemical substance or the physics inside the battery. I'm just giving some numbers so that you can visualize how much of energy density stored by the battery, how much of energy density stored by the ultra capacitor. See, comparing to the battery versus supercapacitor, battery is a high energy density, say 100 watts per kg. Okay, and it is only 1 to 10. But if you see on the power density, okay, that is makes the difference. 10 watts per kg, it is 1 kilowatt. Okay, so it is 100 times more in terms of high power density, 1 kilowatt. And it is very low degradable cycles, which means a low life cycles, and it is a very good high life cycles. If you buy any car in frequent of 4 years or 3 years once, we need to change the battery. And the same story with the even today's two-wheeler also. We need to change some battery in once in 4 years or 3 years. And also it is more prone to how we are using the battery. Today, all of them are using some solar inverter, all those things, and we know how frequently we are having some challenges in the battery replacement. So that is where the capacitor is super capacitor would going to serve that one. Okay, and it is not like no, we are taking advantages of super capacitor. We are taking it is a combination. Okay, the research trend comes when we combine the battery and super capacitor, which is the mutual. No, if we want high energy density, we need to have a battery. If we need to have a high power density, then we need to have the ultra capacitor or the super capacitor. So if we combine both, we are taking the advantages of the two, right? So that is how we are taking as the advantages of alternate energy storage device. It's a combination of battery versus super capacitor. Clear? So now we are talking about a regenerative braking scheme. So this is the research proposal what I made for the conventional vehicle, not electric vehicle, conventional vehicle. What are all the possibilities way to get the regenerative braking energy? Okay, so first one is the EMAS. So now what is the EMAS is engine mounted alternator scheme. If you go back to the powertrain architecture, it is on the P1. So if the alternator is mounted near to the engine, from the alternator we are extracting the energy, then it is a engine mounted alternator scheme, right? Then rear axle mounted alternator scheme is P3. What is P3? Which if you are taking the energy near to the wheel, rear wheel, then the scheme says it is the rear axle mounted alternator scheme. So where in which P1 and P3 we can take or extract the regenerative energy while braking operation. Okay. So this figure also shows how we can extract the energy, what is the power flow from the wheel. It is going to this powertrain, which is already connected with the engine. From the engine, it is the electric motor. Now you, for the understanding, you consider it is the electrical machine as alternator. So this energy can be transferred to the alternator and it can be converted into electrical energy and it is stored into the battery. So this is just for idea to understand how the energy can be stored. The mechanical energy can be converted into electrical energy and it can be stored into the battery. Okay. So now we are going to understand what is EMAS scheme and the rear axle scheme and how we are doing the simulation model. Okay. So engine mounted alternator scheme is, you can just check the electrical connection. So the alternator, in alternator is it is converting from mechanical to the electrical, and it will develop a three-phase AC waveform, or it's a sinusoidal power. It will be developed from the alternator, and all the automotive alternator will have the rectifier unit within the alternator. That from that it will be converting into DC. Okay, and in all the electric vehicle or the conventional vehicles, we will be dealing only with the DC power. So don't need to get confused. All we are talking with the DC power. Okay, so when we have the machine which is developing a AC, then obviously in the automotive we will be using a DC conversion by using rectifier. It is a passive rectifier or the active rectifier based on the power electronic development work. So we will call it as a rectifier. Okay, then the power is out of the alternator is available to the battery series of switch SW2 and SW1. Okay, don't need to confuse now what is switch SW2, SW1. Just it is architecture what I proposed, and it is also a patented one. So what I am sharing is the patented architecture, which is outcome of my MS research work. Okay, so and it is connecting to the battery and it is connecting to the load. Okay, for example, if the any alternator is running, so SW2 will be closed, right? So that it will take this power flow and it is charging the battery, and whatever the electrical load, it will be taken the power from the battery. So this is what the system. Okay, and a control algorithm also developed to enhance the battery energy from the vehicle, right? In the rear axle mounted alternator, how the electrical connection would be. So the first alternator, what is the alternator, is the mounted near to the engine. So obviously it is connected to the battery and it is connecting to the load. So this is what the arrangement of the conventional electrical connection. And the rear axle is mounted near to the rear wheel. Okay, where we will have some mechanical connection from that. So it is also built with the rectifier, and it is going to drop the power into the ultra capacitor. From the ultra capacitor, there is some unidirectional power converter, which we call it as a DC-DC converter. Unidirectional is nothing but the power transfer from one side to the other side. It is not a vice versa. So we call it as a unidirectional power converter, and it is supporting to the load. So this is the electrical architecture. Okay. So the two schemes we saw, how the EMAS or the engine mounted alternator scheme, how is the electrical connection, the rear axle mounted alternator scheme, how is the electrical connections, right? Okay. So now we are going to understand about how to develop the simulation model. Okay, so I am just bringing out the idea why we need to do the simulation model. Okay, so now you have some idea. Okay, by approaching this scheme, I will definitely save fuel economy. By approaching this scheme, I will be having the some fuel economy. Okay, right. But unless you do vehicle trial test, unless you do some simulation, you may not know how much you are going to save and what is the method which will give higher advantages comparing to the other method. Okay, those are all doubts you will have it. Okay, and I said simulation model, it is not a very less in commercial value, it is much higher in commercial value. Okay, so now we need to understand we can develop some simulator model to understand what would be the electrical energy is available, how much of fuel and savings can be brought out from this tool scale, right? So simulation, if any simulation, you will have some simulator, and there are a lot of inputs. Okay, the inputs, we will also go through some subsequent slides. You may understand what is drive cycle, what is alternator, battery characteristics, ultra capacitor, boost converter, and the load. So these are all some block level understanding. So that what would be the output after giving all the input to the simulation model. Simulator is nothing but connecting all the inputs into a known electrical relationship, which will have some mathematical relationship, and which gives the electrical energy outcome of the simulator. And from the electrical energy, we can estimate the fuel savings benefit, right? So first we will touch upon the drive cycle. Okay, what is the drive cycle? Drive cycle is nothing but today you take a drive, okay, from your home to the college. How much of time you will accelerate, no coast, you will maintain at the same speed. Again, you will decelerate due to the traffic condition or due to some emergency. Those are the pattern which we will say the drive cycle. It's clear? If you take any city bus, taking from one destination, say you are in Bangalore, from MTC station, you are reaching to some other station. So there will be some bus stop. So there they will be stopped, and it will be a zero for some time, and again it will accelerate, and it will maintain at some speed, and again it will decelerate, and it will stop. So this is so called as drive cycle. Okay, how we can understand the movement of the vehicle. Okay, if we drive any vehicle coming into the market, the automotive industry will say, this is my mileage for the car or the two-wheelers, right? Some 60 kilometer per liter, or 70 kilometer per liter for the two-wheelers, say 20 kilometer per liter for the four-wheelers, 15, 17, something, right? So this is, all this can be thoroughly examined only through the drive cycle. They will not say for any traffic situation the same mileage. They will always say it is at per the standard AR AI drive cycles. Some array is there. These are all the organization what they can do this standard measurement on the fuel efficiency. These are all some standards, right? So I hope drive cycle is clear for everyone. Now alternator. Okay, so alternator in your lab, you might have seen some alternator or machines. You might done some experiment. Okay, what is the alternator? You need to give some mechanical inputs like speed. Okay, then you are going to take some output in terms of voltage and current. Okay, you might be doing some OCC characteristics. Okay, this is somewhat similar to that characteristic. Okay, if you run the alternator at 1500 RPM, okay, if you load the RPM at 10 amps, okay, so this is the efficiency of the alternator, 34.1. Okay, these are all the test results. Okay, why I'm saying is, if you want to keep any simulator model, you need to have all the technical data. So that is why it is more important. I'm saying in this slide. Okay, if you run the alternator at 1800 RPM, if you load the alternator at 10 ampere, what is the load in the terms? You are taking some 10 amps of current or 10 amps of power from the alternator. What is the efficiency of the alternator? Is 33.9% of the efficiency. You may wonder why the alternator efficiency is so low. It is because of it is the automotive alternator, because this is how it was designed. In your lab, you may see the efficiency at more than 80%, 70%, but you may compare the size of the machine compared to the size of this alternator in the vehicle. Okay, the size also matters. Okay, in which power density level we are extracting this efficiency. Though this is the numbers which you may look odd, but this is the reality. But why I'm just giving this highlighting is, in your research development, you will have a lot of potential to improve the efficiency of the alternator. That is why I'm just giving these highlights. Okay, this is how the trend of the efficiency. Okay, the peak efficiency always close to 40, 50% efficiency. You see how much room gap is available to improve the alternator efficiency. But this is the realistic numbers from the alternator if you do some testings. Okay, so these inputs you will be having from the alternator side, right? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, clear. Thank you. Then ultra capacitor is very simple in terms of electrical model. All the ESR value capacitors, what is the farads available for that, and what is the option. This naturally you can model if you know the circuit network level of models. If you know, so what is the voltage if you apply, what is the current it will take, what is the losses on the ESR, everything you can calculate with some small calculations with the circuit models. Yeah, and all the ESR data, everything will be available in the data sheet, right? Next, DC-DC converter. Any okay, yeah. DC-DC converter, you might be studied in your power electronic courses. What is DC-DC converter? Converting from one power level of DC or one voltage level of DC, converting into the either you can step down or step up. It will be conventionally, it is equivalent to transformer if it is sinusoidal voltage or the AC power. If it is an DC, if you want to transfer the power from one level to the another level, which we call it as a DC-DC power converter. Okay, DC-DC power converter, you know the relationship, what is the power converter you are going to use. If you see this architecture, the power network, you see like it is a boost converter, right? So if you have the boost converter, you will as well have the relationship between, what is the relationship between V out and V in, function of the duty cycle. Okay, so that is the two relationship irrespective of current irrespective of the voltage. Yeah, duty cycle is the control things where you can control the output voltage. Yeah. And battery versus load. Okay, so today the lead acid battery is most commonly used for the automotive application. Okay, and the model is developed on the charge balance relationship, and the SOC, state of charge, is also you can predict from the charge balance. And the electrical accessories present in the vehicle forms the electrical load to the vehicle. Yeah, so this is how the battery and the electrical loads modeled in the simulators. The charge balance is nothing but like if you charge you have the battery 40 Ah battery. 40 Ah battery in the sense 40 ampere hour it can support for 1 hour. Okay, that is the charge balance. Okay, if you reduce to 20 ampere, then it can come for 2 hours. Okay, from this is how the charge balance. And again, if you want to charge the battery at 1 ampere level, you know how much time it will take to charge the battery. If you charge it at 2 amps, how much time it will take. So everything, what is the input current, what is the output current, what would be the SOC. If the battery input current reaches 0, then it means it is a 100% charged. If there is a battery current, it is taking for the charge, then from the charge balance, what is the SOC of the battery. So all these things you can do some experiment on the battery, then you can take that input to your simulator. Clear? The simulator is nothing but a connection of inputs to the mathematical relationship is called the simulator. Okay, so I have shown some example of the MATLAB environment. So I'm not used the MATLAB as such the simulator tool for our simulator model. I'm just giving how the simulator tools look like. So all the inputs you will be connecting to some of the mathematical relationship, so on. You will get some scope arrangement, get all the functional outputs. So that is how the simulator will call it as, right? Okay, now we need to understand what is the electrical relationship. Okay, so here I'll say it is a normal mode and it is a EMAS scheme. So during the normal load, you can just understand how the power level. Okay, the SW2 is closed, so the power from the alternator is going to the battery as well as load. So you want to understand what is the power relationship. So alternator power is equivalent to battery power plus load power, right? All these are all disabled, but you are only going to do the control algorithm. So during what method, what is the switch has to be turned on, what is the switch has to be turned off, everything you are going to control. So during the normal mode, I will make SW2 as closed, so power equation is during normal mode alternator power equal to battery power plus load power. Okay. Similarly, for the charging power is nothing but during the braking mode, what I will do, I will turn on the switch SW1. So the maximum power developed by the alternator is going to charge only the ultra capacitor. Okay, the energy now, the regenerative energy is stored only in the ultra capacitor. Why I am not considering to charge the battery for the regenerative braking is, you might be having some questions. Okay, the ultra capacitor is prone to high power density because it is able to capture the high power in a shorter duration. If you take the energy into the battery, it will take longer time to take that power. So we will lose the efficiency of that regenerative energy. That is why we are using the ultra capacitor to take the quick energy. Okay, and that is why I'm saying ultra capacitor used to charge the during the braking period. Correct. So during the charging mode, what is the power equation? You see how the voltage across the capacitor will rise. We know the electrical relationship, 1 by C integral of I into dt. So what is the alternator power is equivalent to the ultra capacitor power. What is the battery power? Okay, during that time, battery power will be supported to the load. So we will not have any discontinuity of power to the electrical loads inside the vehicle. So everything is balanced. During the discharging mode, during the discharge, what is that discharging mode? So after the braking mode, now the energy is available in the ultra capacitor. So now what we need to do, from the next brake cycle, we want to discharge the energy stored from the ultra capacitor. The discharging in the sense, we want to utilize the stored energy to the battery, to the electrical load, so that ultra capacitor can be ready for the next braking cycle. So that is why we need to do the control algorithm to discharge quickly after the event of the brake cycles. Okay, so now the ultra capacitor is going to discharge. So the voltage is going to be the negative. So 1 by C of integral of I into dt, and the ultra capacitor power plus this alternator power is both equivalent to battery power versus load. Then if the ultra capacitor is supplying power to the load, how is the alternator power? Alternator will naturally reduce this power because already two energy sources are coupled here parallelly, so that DC-DC converter will take care of what is the power to be priority for discharging. So for example, in electrical, if it is coming from 13.5 volt from the alternator, say example, if the DC-DC converter is potential at 14 volt, so the power is naturally discharged from the ultra capacitor because DC-DC converter is controlling that priority in what power is from alternator or ultra capacitor has to priority to meet the battery as well as electrical load. So that is how the control architecture we need to develop here. Okay, this is what the control methods what I have followed here. Right? Clear? And similarly for the rear axle mounted alternator, know how the alternator is going to support the electrical power for the battery, right? So that is also given here. The alternator power is equivalent to battery power plus load power. And during charging, so here the rear alternator. Okay, the rear alternator is connected directly to the vehicle wheel. So whatever the wheel power is available, immediately it convert into electrical power, and it is going to charge the ultra capacitor. And we can also make the DC-DC converter enable to discharge the ultra capacitor energy to the battery as well as load. So here, why the alternator rectifier is disabled? The same thing. Okay, so here, if the unidirectional power converter is given at a high voltage, so that naturally the alternator will be disabled. So these are all taken as a advantages how to disable this alternator by DC-DC power converter. Yeah. If you have any doubt, you can raise. I will more happy to clarify your doubts. And during discharging mode, now if there is no power from the braking period, now the alternator is also disabled. Now the power only is available in the ultra capacitor. So the enabling the DC-DC converter, so the ultra capacitor power will be supporting the battery power as well load power. Right. So now we understand all the electrical relationship of during the scheme. What would be the power flow from where to where? Everything we know. Okay. Now it is the understanding of the electrical energy conversion to the fuel energy conversion. Okay. So these are all the numbers from the from the fuel energy density. Okay. So today the simulator comes with the fuel saving in terms of CC. CC is nothing but ml. Okay, 1 ml is equivalent to 1 CC. Okay, and the results is very flexible. We can take it in Excel, or you can also do some macros programming. And even if you have any MathCAD or MATLAB M file, you can do as well programming. Everything you can do, even Python simulations, whatever. If you are much comfortable in any mathematical model, you can develop whatever the result you want. And what is the result format, whether you want to come in a graphical environment, whatever it is, you can do that into a report format, right? And what is the, I am taking example as specific energy density of the fuel. You can try out for if any fuels, if you have in your interest for the petrol or for any gas or anything, you can consider. So all this data will be available in the any specific energy density of the fuel. So I'm considered as a diesel. Okay, 10.72, and this is the powertrain conversion efficiency. Okay, powertrain conversion efficiency. You need to understand what are all the efficiency. Okay, I said normally engine have some efficiency, some 40 to 50% efficiency. Battery alternator have some 50% efficiency on the load. So all the efficiency you can consider, then you will understand 7.3 kilojoules or 7,333 joules per ml. So in 1 ml of fuel, you can take 7.3 kilojoules, which means the electrical energy in terms of joules, you can take it from 1 ml. Okay, now you have this conversion number. Okay, so now, for example, you consider there is a 90% efficiency for your conversion level of DC-DC converter, power devices or power switch. Still, you can say from that also you can consider some 90% this thing, and you can say as well the energy utilized by this joules conversion. You know how much of the fuel energy you need, and what is the fuel consumption. Here I can take the numbers. My vehicle have some 20 kilometer per liter. So I consider some mileage, some numbers. So you can also understand what would be the fuel consumption. All these are all the backward calculations. Okay. So now I have modeled the simulation. So I have some relative things. So how do I ensure my simulation model is correct? Okay, there only I need to do some practical test. It is not you want to do the vehicle level test. You can do some test bench level test. Okay, now you have all the system is available. You have the ultra capacitor, battery, alternator, everything you have. So you just do some experimental and you measure some how much the alternator is powering, how much the battery current, what is the ultra capacitor voltage level, everything you capture in your oscilloscope. When the same parameter you modeled in the simulator model, what we have gone through, whether you can confirm the same thing is available, right? So any
Sir,
doubt?
may I know which simulation software is using, sir?
This is the user defined. So I'm not using any standard model. I have developed my simulation model. I developed in M file. I developed some cases in Excel file, those kind of things.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
It's clear. I'm talking about avoiding the commercial software. What we go through is, however, we have all the electrical relationship, we can also model our own simulation models. We can take use of any mathematical simulations tools. Even if you want to do from MathCAD also, you can do, if it is available in the universities.
We have PSpice in the second year, sir, and MATLAB
Okay.
and Simulink in the third year in our UG syllabus.
Okay.
In the final year, we have PSIM also in the project 8th semester we are using, sir.
Correct.
In the power trading side.
Okay. Okay.
Power,
You can take, yeah, you can
power.
consider any simulation tools.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just covering if you develop your own simulator model, how you are going to confirm whether my simulation model is working perfect. So that is where we need to compare it. Okay, that is why I am given one example in the beginning. If you have a power supply, you have the voltage divider network or some resistor network. You can as well develop the simulator model environment. You capture some what is the power, what is the current, what is the voltage level, everything you can model in the simulator. Okay, but if you do the practical things, you do some lab experiment, then you can confirm, you will have some good understanding. My simulation model also giving the correct value. That is why we can compare with the experimental versus the simulation model. If you do not have any experimental value, then how would you validate your simulation model is giving the correct results or not? Unless we know the fundamental relationship, we will know, okay, this is. Otherwise, today, most of the people are suffering from whether the simulation model is giving the right results or anything, the model which if you have modeled any parameter wrong, it will give a different results. Then it is very difficult in the industry. If any model is mistake, then totally our work effort will be totally, it is a waste of time consuming, right? So unless people knows the full background of the simulation model and the results are all oriented towards the electrical relationship, then only we can able to understand the simulation model is giving the right understanding. Otherwise, it will lead into the wrong direction. That is how I'm just stressing. Always don't take it as advantages of the simulation results unless you understand the concept of your own model. Okay, for example, if you're working on any machine design simulation model or any power electronic development DC-DC converter, unless you do not know understanding basics of how the power converter is going to work, but if you take the results from the simulator, then sometimes most of the chance you will be misguided by the simulation model if you are not really convinced about your models. That is how I'm just highlighting. Then the similar thing I experimented for the rear axle motor. If you see the results, everything looks same, looks similar. So then I take in a nutshell, my simulator model is perfect. It's working. Okay, then only I can take it to the next level. What can I do for the next drive cycle? What would be the fuel benefits? So these are all the inputs. Again, the input for the drive cycle is NEDC, New European Drive Cycle. What is my alternator? Battery rating, initial SOC of the battery, ultra capacitor rating. You may see 200 farad. It's a very huge numbers. The farad, the power converter ratings, 420 watts, and what would be my vehicle mileage. All these are all the input. Then these are all the outputs from the simulation model. Okay, the NEDC drive cycle models is like that. So ultra capacitor voltage, you see during every brake cycle, voltage shoots up and it will discharge and it will be constant. So this is how the voltage, it's okay. So my model is working good. And also I can also measure my ultra capacitor current. During charging of voltage, my current also is going high. Okay. And also I can see my alternator current and the battery current. So everything I know, so how my simulation model is working. Okay. From those results and even the results for the rear axle mounted scheme also for the same NEDC drive cycle, then only I can get into the conclusion like, so okay, the two model I have done some quick test, my simulator model is okay. Then I can also predict the fuel economy. So what is the fuel economy? So I recorded a higher percentage in rear axle mounted scheme, so 2.82%, and in 1.4% for the engine mounted alternator scheme. So now I would be in a good position to give some confidence to the automotive industry or to my company or to any auto OEMs. If you approach this scheme, you will have the better fuel efficiency improvement adopting this regenerative braking scheme. Correct? So that is why we need this kind of a simulator tools if you want to develop, unless your university or company don't have. So you don't want to be handicapped. So I'm just giving the idea. If you don't have models, you can as well develop the models, and you can also compare how to compare your own developed models, how to go with step by step comparing all those data. Yeah. I hope coming to the conclusion. So if you have any clarification, this is the outcome of this IEEE conference paper. So you can as well take a few time to read. You can also get some better understanding about one on the models, one on the regenerative braking scheme. So this slides combination of these two conferences, which was published during the year of 2014. So it is published in Romania, the Europe. Yeah.
Am I audible, sir, now?
Now it is audible. Well, you can ask.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir, actually, ultra capacitor profile is not constant, no, sir. Can we connect directly in parallel with the battery?
Yes, it's a good question. Thank you, Satish. Yeah. Good question, Anita. Okay, I'm just giving how to connect the batteries or some anything. Okay, if you have the ultra capacitor, is nothing but a energy storage device, right? If you connect across the battery, the ultra capacitor, battery is also a energy storage device. Ultra capacitor is also energy storage device. If you connect a parallel, what is going to happen? What is the energy available from the battery? It is going to the ultra capacitor. And what is the after transferring energy from the battery to the ultra capacitor, then battery will be on the low energy, right? The SOC will be lower. Then again, what is going to happen? Ultra capacitor energy also is going to the battery. So it will go like two vessels of water. If you pour in the other side, this will become empty, and this is also try to pour in the second vessel. This is also going to make it empty, right? So this phenomenon will occur, and this would be one of the dangerous situation. You prone to have major blasting. Okay, it is not desirable to connect directly ultra capacitor to the any battery unless you have any DC-DC converter or any power controller if you have in the system.
Thank you, sir. Sir, and one more thing, can we increase the energy density of the ultra capacitor? Without battery, can we use only ultra capacitors?
Okay, so ultra capacitor, if you take, it is also made up of some dielectric layers. Okay, the dielectrical layer only contributes the energy density. Okay. Today, there are a lot of materialistic materials are available where you can also look at. These are all, I'm giving you open challenges so that you can also do some lot of research work. Today, the ultra capacitor was in this level of energy density levels. Okay, it constitute basically due to the material efficiency what is used in the ultra capacitor. But you find any other higher efficient materials technologies,
Great.
then you can also improve the energy density of the ultra capacitor.
Thank you, sir.
So students, any other questions you want to ask? Sir, I want to ask one more thing.
Yes.
So is there any opportunities, internship opportunities for our students
Yes.
in value?
Correct. Yes. So I'd like to share this slides. Okay. So I am more available to take any request from the students. Okay. In terms of any internship on value aspect and any technical clarification or even anything. So the value, there are some program for internship available, which you can reach me if you have any placement officer is considering all the students in a group level. We can also take our inputs to our HR side so that I can bridge the connection between them so that they can have some periodic internship programs will be available where students also can participate on that.
Okay, sir. Surely we'll contact you, sir. Since 7th semester, one in their curriculum, one subject is nothing but internship only. One is project, and apart from these subjects, theory subjects and labs, so one is internship is there and project is there. So we'll definitely contact you, sir, through our college HR.
Yes.
Placement officer.
Yes, correct. That would be the good direction. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Students, any other questions? And the SAR email address and mobile number is available. So if you have any other questions in the future, you can contact him. Better you contact email.
Yes. Yeah. So I have shared both official as well as a personal email ID. So in order to avoid any challenges communicating to official, and even I'll also more welcome to have your feedbacks. Okay, even Satish, you can also give your feedbacks so that I can also improve on stage by stage, and I'm more open to address the students. I'm more happy to share my knowledge, even not only in this forum, even any forum. I can be able to take my knowledge to share with all the students. More often, I will also be encouraged if I have some good feedbacks. So if the session is really interesting or anything I want to improve, that definitely that will also improve my skills also.
Sure, sir. I actually will share. We are sharing the feedback form after this session to the students. So once everyone done that feedback form, I'll share to your official email address.
Yeah.
And I request Ashwini, the 6th semester students, to give the vote of thanks to the Mariyappan sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ashwini, and I'm here to present the vote of thanks to today's guest lecture. I would like to thank our guest lecturer speaker, Mr. Mariyappan V. sir, for enlightening us with their knowledge. And today's lecture was full of knowledge and interesting things was there. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge that sir gave us it will really help us in our studies as well as in our future. We were really pleased to have your participation in the outstanding guest lecture. And once again, we thank you for your valuable contribution, sir. I would also like to thank our HOD sir and all the faculty coordinators for arranging the guest lecture for us. And I would also like to thank all the participants present here. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sir, on behalf of New Arjun College of Engineering, Department of Electrical and Electronics, We thank you for taking this guest lecture to our 6th sem students. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure. Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, students. Have a good day. Best wishes
Thank
for
you,
your
sir.
career. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
bye.
Thank you, sir.